Welcome back, everyone, to Toronto Regionals, and I'm very thankful that you guys have been watching the show, and I hope you have enjoyed it. We have a very, very wonderful final match for you, and I'm happy to call it alongside Sean. We have Nick, who had just recently came in first place in Roanoke.
And he's being paired up against Adam DeMarchi, who has also at 5-1, and so for basically a win and in match between these two players.
Absolutely. It's very impressive to see Nick do so well in back-to-back tournaments. It's not surprising, I guess, that he's doing well, but in back-to-back tournaments, it's very hard to have consistent finishes, especially in Pokemon. So I'm curious to know how Nick will finish out this round and if he decides to make top cut or not.
Yeah, and obviously Adam also has a lot on the line. He's in for a match against a very good player who's already proven himself. And he's going to also be right up there. Giving him this win will also get him to the top cut.
Absolutely. I know that we have both players getting ready right now, so it should just be a moment. But now that the day is coming to an end, what is it like having VGC back in Canada?
Yeah, it's been a great day. We've had a lot of fun matches, a lot of really cool teams on stream that I didn't think we would actually have the opportunity.
Like right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that people have been pulling out, and I don't think we've actually seen many standard builds throughout the day. From what I've seen.
Now, do you think it's because the format is coming to a close and people are just trying to have fun, or do you think this is just the natural advancement of the format?
Well, someone told me a lot earlier that this format basically changes on a week-by-week basis, which seems to be holding really true so far when you compare teams that we've seen on stream versus teams that top cut at Virginia. So I actually think this format is kind of just evolving and getting to a further point. And we're going to start up the match rate about now.
Yes.
And see, we can see Nick's team of Marowak, Persian, Salamence, Caesar, Tapu Fini, and Tapu Koko on the right side.
And Adam on the left has Araquanid, Tapu Fini, Kartana, Garchomp, Togedemaru, and Mandibuzz. This is an interesting team because usually Araquanid is played on Trick Room teams. However, Mandibuzz is a Pokemon known...
Actually, I believe the Araquanid is a mistake that we should fix. I believe that's meant to be an Arcanine, just looking at our team options right here.
Absolutely.
Which,
I'll go ahead and change that.
So yeah, we'll get that fixed.
Note that is supposed to be an Arcanine, not an Araquanid.
And as we can see, that was fixed up here. I believe I either have some information wrong here, or these teams are not lining up. We do see Nick's team on the right, which I'm going to be mentioning specifically that he's using Caesar, which is a Pokemon I really liked in the past. Caesar, which is a Pokemon I've really liked in the past. But I felt it kind of lost too many options after losing Bug Bite, Knockoff, Tailwind, and Superpower in the transition to Sun and Moon. But I'd love to see Nick pull that out and see where he can go with that. We also see Persian, which, as far as I know, has only made a single good result, which still means it's a good Pokemon. We've seen back in Brazil that it was piloted to a top 8 finish alongside a kind of different team. Next up is Salamence on his team, that also kind of unusual in my opinion. I haven't seen many Salamences in top 8 since very early tournaments such as London and San Jose. And
sorry about that, everyone. So the problem here is that the sheet was the incorrect sheet. So Adam's team is a little bit different than we thought going into the match. However, I'm very excited to see Nick, not only because Nick had just come off with such a hot finish, but he really does have an unusual team with Persian and Scizor. I'm very excited to see if he brings Scizor to the match. To start off the game, we have Tapu Koko coming into play and setting his electric terrain, but it instantly gets replaced by the Misty terrain from Tapu Fini.
And Porygon gets the download, boosting its attack, so it's not going to help it much. But we do get to see the Persian right off the bat from Nick. Probably going to offer some takeout pressure here. And we'll see what else he has in store with that Pokemon.
I really like the combination of Persian and Tapu Fini. However, Tapu Koko is certainly a threat to both of them. Tapu Koko can hit super effectively in a Persian with a Fairy move, and Tapu Fini, of course, is going to get hit hard by a Thunderbolt or the electric move of choice from the Koko. Alex decides to switch out his Porygon and go into his own Tapu Fini. And this is very impressive. Nature's Power is on the Tapu Koko, and Nature's Power, of course, changes to the terrain that is on the battlefield. We know that Persian is weak to Fairy moves, so because of the misty terrain, Nature's Power was turned into a Moonblast, and that's enough for a one-hit knockout on the Persian.
Yeah, that was a good use of his opponent's misty terrain, but also he brought in his own Tapu Fini to kind of also secure that, because Nick could have swapped in his Tapu Koko, changing the terrain back to electric terrain or something like that, and he just wanted to make sure he got that Moonblast.
Absolutely. Very, very clever play.
And we see Nick bringing out the Scizor that I've wanted to see.
Absolutely.
We're going to see how this puts out some pressure. I do love that on Alex's team, we don't see any Tapu Lele to stop Bullet Punch from going off. And we can see that just how much damage a Bullet Punch from a Pokemon like Scizor does, dealing almost half to a presumably fairly bulky Tapu Fini. While Alex Volt switches out to get his Tapu Koko back and bring his Porygon back in.
Now, from my understanding, the move that Nick just used with Scizor, Bullet Punch, it has 60 base power, is that correct?
No, Bullet Punch is actually even lower. It's a 40 base power move.
Okay.
But Scizor has the ability Technician, which will boost that by 1.5 times because it's below 60 base power, up to 60.
Ah, yes.
And then because it's also a Steel type move, it'll boost it even higher, and et cetera, et cetera. So usually Scizor will even have things like a Choice Band to boost that higher. And that was actually really cool from Nick, going for a Swagger onto his own Scizor.
Interesting
which
play.
Boosts its attack by 2 stages, and thanks to the misty terrain, it gets to ignore the confusion effect that's usually brought alongside that. Meaning that Scizor that just did about half the Tapu Fini can probably one-hit both Tapus on Alex's team at this point.
And not to mention that Scizor has the priority move in Bullet Punch, so it will always go faster.
Yeah. And yeah, on top of always going faster, Alex isn't packing any sort of really ways to deal with priority moves super well. There's no quick guard users that I can see on his team, or at least not common ones. And there's no Tapu Lele, which is kind of one of the things that's been keeping Scizor in check, because you can't use its signature Bullet Punch when you're in Psychic terrain.
Absolutely. We do see the Porygon 2 opt to be offensive and go for a Thunderbolt into the Tapu Fini. And Alex is going to send out his Tapu Koko and change the terrain. So there's no more Swagger shenanigans on Nick's side of the field, at least not for now.
Yeah, though I honestly, a +2 Scizor already does a lot. I could see that Bullet Punch one hitting the Tapu Koko because of similar calcs that I've done in the past. So he really doesn't need the extra boost. I think the bigger deal is that these Thunderbolts from Porygon or from Tapu Koko itself are going to do a lot more damage. And
the Arcanine Intimidate here is going to be very important if he aimed this Bullet Punch at Koko. Because like you said, there was a good chance that it may have KO'd, but after the Intimidate, I'm not sure.
It's still doing a lot, and it still takes down that Tapu Koko, doing a massive amount of damage. And Tapu Fini showing off that it has an even more supportive set, going for a Heal Pulse on this Scizor. Nick just saying, hey, I want this Scizor's going to be the Pokemon that wins me this game.
You know, Scizor hasn't used a different move since it's been in play, and Tapu Fini has been a support Pokemon this whole entire time. There might be a Choice Band on the Scizor, because that damage output is literally insane right now.
I think that's a safe bet. Choice Band has kind of been Scizor's go-to item for a very long time, just because of how much damage a Choice Band Bullet Punch can do. It's the kind of logic that most players would go by is why use anything else, because of just how strong your priority moves get to be. And I would not be surprised to see that would be Nick's item as well.
That was a smart protect by Alex, stopping the Scald from Nick.
But Nick also made a very smart switch, getting Caesar out of danger from the Arcanine and being able to take the Thunderbolt for his Tapu Fini, which would have dealt a good amount of damage with this electric terrain still out. Kind of ending in a null turn overall. And a forfeit coming out, that's got to be from Alex, in my opinion.
Yes, I would say so. And for those of you at home that are wondering why they may forfeit with a few Pokemon left, when you are in a best 2 out of 3, meaning that if you lose one game, you can still win the set. So it's very important to not give information to your opponent. So that's the strategy there.
It's also valuable, probably not in this match, but in matches involving Pokemon such as Celesteela or Gastrodon, like the match we saw earlier, that these matches can actually go to the 15-minute timer, where you're going to play only 3 extra turns at that point. So conceding to be able to conserve your overall round timer can be kind of important if you think you can win against the opponent in the average scenario.
You know, with Nick taking game 1 pretty convincingly, he's really on a tear with some unconventional Pokemon. Now, the thing that I like about Nick's strategy is that you cannot prepare for what you don't know is even there. I would never have looked at Nick's 6 Pokemon and had thought that Tapu Fini was going to be a support Pokemon and power up Scizor, and very impressive.
Yeah, I've seen Tapu Finis run a bit of a supportive set on some teams, be with the Heal Pulse, but I've never seen like kind of that full out support that he's running. Because we saw at least Swagger and Heal Pulse out a bit. I don't think I saw it use it. I think it saw Scald as the only offensive move that whole match. And it could, based on what he's been doing, that's probably the only offensive move on the Pokemon, would be my guess.
Now, the Scizor, really the only counter Alex has for it is the Arcanine. Arcanine was on Alex's team last game, and it did not seem to be able to stop that Scizor. How's Alex going to be able to adjust to take Nick down in game 2?
Yeah, so I think the actual answer is Alex needs to deal with the Tapu Fini early. Because the Tapu Fini is the biggest threat to his Arcanine. And going in, if he can get rid of the Fini, then the Arcanine can freely stop Scizor from doing stuff. And just be a big threat, because Scizor is slower than Arcanine, and the Bullet Punch isn't going to do much when resisted. So I think that's really the key Pokemon in this that we have to watch out for, is we need to make sure that Nick's Tapu Fini stays alive for him or goes down for Alex.
And before we move on to this game, I just want to say one last thing. Nick was able to come back from that early Nature's power, so we know what is on Alex's Tapu Koko. So we start off with 2 Koko. Canada's in love with the Koko. We have Arcanine on Alex's side, and Nick has the Persian. We know that Fake Out is going to be coming, but we don't know who it's going to be targeting.
Yeah, being in Nick's position, I can't see him doing anything other than faking out the opponent's Koko, knowing that the Koko has that Nature's power. That could be really scary. Alex also sees this as the likely probability, and he's actually just going to protect both Pokemon to stop any Fake Out at all.
Right, we had seen that last round with Joshua Lorcy actually opting to go for a double protect on turn 1, and he actually drew a Z-move just like this situation. So Alex decides to play it safe, and he is rewarded by wasting Nick's Z-move pretty much.
Yeah, this Tentacle Tackle is still going to do a good amount of damage, but it's quartered by the Protect from Alex's Tapu Koko, so it's going to be able to take that. And that gives Alex a pretty good advantage just by taking out a Z-move for that turn and getting rid of any threats caused by the Fake Out from Persian.
Right, so it stops the Fake Out and the potential Z-move as well.
So going in, I think Alex is kind of now in a position where he can be a bit more offensive. He now knows that the Z-move's gone, and he knows that the Persian can't Fake Out. So I think he's going to take this turn to try and create some offensive tempo for him, get him started on the route to victory. And Nick kind of has to respond to this, and we'll see what he thinks is the best option. He's going to just swap out Persian right away, bring in the Scizor again into the Arcanine. This could be really scary.
Very nice job. And then Alex goes into the Fini. Is Alex really going to Nature's Power again into the Persian slot? Nick wisely switches.
Yeah, if he's going for the exact same play, Nick just made a great read. And actually, Alex is using the Z move, Nature's Power, I believe, because that is the normal Z move dance, which is really cool because it turns into the actual type of the terrain. So by giving it the normal Z gem, you have access to an electric Z move with your Thunder terrain and a Fairy Z move with your Misty terrain. And that's going to deal Twinkle Tackle that will crit, but probably would have taken out this Tapu Koko anyway.
You think so?
Well, my guess would be yes, based on Nick's previous move of Twinkle Tackling into the other Koko.
Yes, fair enough.
So and I believe that would be off a Dazzling Gleam instead of a Moonblast, because Koko doesn't have access to Moonblast in itself. And this turns into Moonblast, which would be an even slightly more powerful Twinkle Tackle.
It's very difficult to set up Nature's Power correctly. So Alex is doing a very wonderful job at using his Z moves effectively. We had seen this exact position, though, last game. And Nick was really able to take advantage with Scizor having the priority Bullet Punch and then the Tapu Fini using Swagger into it.
Yeah.
I'm safe to say that Scizor is carrying that Choice Band because it hasn't used a move besides Bullet Punch. How is Scizor going to get a boost and live this turn?
Yeah, so I see the best option for him as, well, I was going to say Bullet Punching the Koko, but obviously I'm wrong. He's going to Volt Switch, and this has to be the Arcanine coming in to just try and reduce that Scizor's attack and threaten it again.
Absolutely.
Would be my guess. Nick could make a read on this, but he also just has options. Or it actually is going to be the Kartana.
Well, we know that Bullet Punch is not coming. We know that much.
So what's the move this time? We see a Moonblast into the Tapu Fini as well as that Volt Switch. Going to put that Tapu Fini pretty low. But as we suspect, it seems to be a very bulky set. But gets a critical hit Scald onto that Kartana and a U-turn out of Scizor this time, dealing good amount of damage to Tapu Fini for a resisted move, but not really near as big as his Bullet Punches we've seen before.
That was also a good switch by Alex to go into the Kartana instead of the Arcanine, because the Scald was aimed in that slot.
Yeah, they're definitely making some next level reads on each other
and
kind of going
very,
up
very
and up
next
and up.
level, yeah.
And we see Nick bringing out his Persian once again, which lets him once again offer fake out pressure. But we saw Alex just feeling fine double protecting to stop that. So I could see him very much going for that again. Nick tries to take advantage of this by swapping over his Scizor and going actually for a parting shot.
We're seeing a lot of switching here in this game. I like it. I like it a lot. Everyone's repositioning the battlefield, trying to get into the best possible position for themselves. This is going to leave Kartana and Fini open for a free attack, though.
Yeah, let's see how Alex is going to best capitalize on this.
Wonderful switch. Great play. Scizor is able to tank that Leaf Blade very easily. However, the Moonblast will go into the Fini.
Oh, but it triggers the Berry.
Oh my goodness.
Healing 50% of Tapu Fini's health with a Mago Berry, which is going to put Nick back in board from what looked like a bad position.
Oh, man.
Because I gotta believe that Scizor's Bullet Punch can deal a lot to Kartana at this point. It's at 42 HP. I could see that disappearing in a single Bullet Punch. Even resisted, just because of...
Scizor is strong, but Kartana has that crazy defense. That's going to be a good calculation.
Yeah,
I don't know if Nick would do it or not, but I'm kind of curious now that you said something.
Yeah.
And I agree with how you said at the beginning of the match that Alex should focus on taking down Nick's Tapu Fini. And so far, he's done a pretty decent job of it. He didn't know the Berry was there, of course, but...
and we can see Arcanine finally coming in for Alex, getting another Intimidate onto that Scizor for the first time. Getting an Intimidate onto the Scizor for the first time. And Nick protecting a taunt out of the Tapu Fini. And U-turning, kind of probably expecting the Arcanine even.
Yes. Yes. So for those at home that are watching, it is very difficult to continually switch into the right target. It's very hard. You have to predict your opponent correctly. And so far, we're seeing a wonderful back and forth between Alex and Nick. Make sure you save this match. This will teach you how to switch.
Yeah, we can see neither of them have really lost Pokemon. They're making great defensive switches that keep their health at decently high amounts. And they're both just kind of fine playing this sort of attrition game with each other, trying to get a slight advantage before they move in for the kill.
Yes.
So I do think Alex is getting into that spot right now. He does have one of Nick's Pokemon already down, and the Tapu Finis have taken similar amounts of damage.
We know that Persian's back online with the Fake Out. However, Nick is really switching it up. Does he Fake Out? Does he Parting Shot? Does he even attack?
Yeah. And Alex made the call on the Parting Shot last time, went for attacks, and we'll see if he can make the right call on this Persian's move this time. Arcanine protecting itself, Persian opting for the Fake Out into the Tapu Fini. This looks like it could be a pretty good turn for Nick.
But the Scald will go into the Arcanine slot, so Nick, very clever, knowing that the Arcanine could potentially protect there, so he fakes out the other target, so it basically wastes Alex's turn. If Alex were to attack with the Arcanine, it would have ate a Scald from the Tapu Fini.
Yeah. This once again puts Nick down to a kind of defenseless Persian, I'm going to say. It's not actually defenseless, but Persian's definitely a much bigger threat on the first turn when it has the Fake Out. And we'll see a foul play from it, doing a lot of damage to that Arcanine.
Yes. This Moonblast from Fini, will it KO the Persian?
Or not.
Persian is living.
Whoa.
And Persian is eating a berry. So once again, we get to see another berry. I don't know if it would live another Moonblast. That's way too close to call.
Yeah, I looking at the percentages, I'm leaning towards no. Definitely not after that Flare Blitz.
Persian must have Fur Coat.
Yeah, Fur Coat is one of the better options for Persian, I believe.
Of course.
So that would make sense. And Scald taking out that Arcanine, evening up the number of Pokemon on each side, and getting rid of the biggest threat to Caesar out of Alex, which could be enough to take the game.
Yes, I think the Persian is very well trained too. It lived a Moonblast and a Flare Blitz. That's impressive.
Yeah, I was really surprised off the fact that it fainted to Tapu Koko's Moonblast before, and took Fini's a lot better than I expected, given that damage we saw earlier.
Nick is really positioning himself well here. However, that Koko is the fastest Pokemon on the field, and there's not much Nick can do about it.
Yeah, I think Alex probably gets a free KO off this, unless Nick somehow predicts a Moonblast into the Persian or something and brings in the Caesar to take that. But Alex can also make a read on that, and that could be game-winning. So we got to see what Alex is taking as
very interesting. Alex decides to protect the fastest Pokemon on the field,
which stops Nick's Parting Shot and gives both Finis a chance to do something. Moonblasting into the Persian, giving Nick a free switch out to his Caesar that he was trying to Parting Shot anyway. But both of Nick's attacks just going into the Protect. You got to think Alex is happy with that turn.
Absolutely. So even though I do think that Koko could have been offensive there, the Protect was a very solid play, as you've seen. So good options by Alex, but we had said that before the turn started. Alex was in a good position.
Yeah. Nick down to his last two Pokemon, but we do see the Caesar, which has been a big threat. We saw its Bullet Punch before do about as much damage as Tapu Fini has left health. So
that'll be a close damage roll.
Pretty big risk. Tapu Koko even less bulky than Tapu Fini. We got to see how much that Bullet Punch does to that. But Nick probably knows these numbers. He's going for the Bullet Punch into the Koko. I think he thinks he'll take it out, and it does.
Wow. Nick doing so much damage with the Scizor. Muddy Water comes out from the Tapu Fini, and that's a move that I have not really seen this tournament.
Nick, once again, realizing his win condition is Caesar, heel pulsing it up, just wanting to keep this as healthy as possible. Knowing it can probably take out that Fini in one shot, and probably able also to deal with this Kartana very well. Playing to his win condition right there.
We get to actually see, because we know that Scizor is not going to be able to use any move besides Bullet Punch, so will he decide to target the Kartana first or try to go for the Fini? Both of them are going to be very close on potential KOs.
Yeah. My guess would be into the Fini, just off the fact that Fini has the Muddy Water, which could ruin your day with accuracy drops. And Nick seems to have a similar idea, but Fini barely holds on, propping its berry. Going to be able to live probably another Bullet Punch even now because of that roll.
Absolutely. And then we do see the Muddy Water. Will it hit the Scizor? It does not. That's very, very crucial. most likely the Kartana is going to aim that Leaf Blade into the Finny. Do you think now's a chance to bullet punch into that thing, or do you think that you try to double protect with the Finny?
Well, we just saw Nick's roll on the Finny. I think he has to just go for the Kartana KO because he probably isn't taking that Finny in one shot, given that the berry just proc, putting it at a higher health than it was before.
Right.
So I think you got to go for the punch on the Kartana, but Nick probably knows this calculation better than I do.
Oh, of course.
So
Nick is a great
trainer. So
Tapu Fini does opt to go for the double protect and unfortunately does not get it. The bullet punch will go into the Finny and almost KOs it. However, it's not enough, and the Leaf Blade will go into the Finny, giving the Beast Boost to the Kartana.
Yeah, Caesar now the only Pokemon standing on Nick's side. It still is a big threat. Any single hit is going to take out this Tapu Fini at this point, leaving it in a one-on-one with the Kartana. But you got to think that you just saw the Muddy Water, how much damage it did to the Caesar. Nick knows he can take at least one more of those, even with a critical probably. And I think he has to just prioritize the Kartana.
I think so too. Kartana, imagining that it has Sacred Sword, I would think would be enough to KO the Scizor at +1. Scizor is very, very defensive though. However, with the chip damage on it, I think you're right that he may have to prioritize the Kartana.
And Nick does not agree though.
Nick does not agree
taking
at all.
out the Tapu Fini, thinking he can just take more hits from the Kartana than he can off the Fini. Here's the Sacred Sword you talked about.
Yes, it will
Gonna
live.
hit Caesar really hard and take it out, ending the game in the favor of Alex, tying it up to 1-1.
And I do want everyone to know at home that Nick is playing at a very high level, and we're just up here calling it as we see it. So just because Nick didn't bullet punch the Kartana there, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, I was saying that it was a possible option for the Sacred Sword, and it just happened to play out that way. Nick probably was thinking something very different than I was. However, that's how the game ended, with a Sacred Sword.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. Nick could have been considering Detect out of the Kartana, which would have been problematic, giving the Tapu Fini just a free hit. He could have also, he might also just know from calculations that that Kartana has a 50-50 to die, or not to die, but to faint rather. And he doesn't want to take that chance when he can just take out the Fini for sure. So there's a lot of things that could have been going through his head, and there's a good chance that that could have just been the right play. He hadn't seen the Sacred Sword earlier. More and more people are opting not to use Sacred Sword sometimes from the sets I've seen. He could just have been hoping that the Kartana only really had Smart Strike and Leaf Blade as offensive options. And in that case, it's going to be doing less damage than the Fini is with its Muddy Waters.
That was honestly the best game I think I've seen this entire tournament. The switching was perfect. They were predicting each other on a double switch level. How does Nick continue to keep his composure and play well? Because he played incredible game 1, and he also played incredible game 2. But he must be a little bit defeated after that loss. He knows that his potential top 8 record is on the line. We're going into game 3. How does he come back? What Pokemon does he bring?
So anyone in Nick's position is probably a bit nervous, but I don't see him changing his plan. It worked out well game 1, and he was literally probably one attack away from winning game 2. So I think he just wants to keep it tight, and if he makes it one good read, that could just change the outcome of that previous game.
Well, everyone at home, enjoy this Game 3 in Round 7. You will see one of these people tomorrow. Nick opting to go with the all-blue outfit. Does that make a difference? Maybe, because he sent out an all-blue Salamence. So Nick does change his play for this last game. Alex, interestingly, sends out 2 Tapus at the very same time.
Which seems like a really big threat to Nick because he gets this Misty Terrain off from the 2 Tapus. We've seen the Nature Power, which means he gets a Moonblast from his Tapu Koko and a Moonblast just naturally off his Tapu Fini, which is super effective on both of Nick's Pokemon. But Salamence does get a Misty Seed special defense boost, which, I don't know, could make it able to take one of these Moonblasts.
I imagine that it could probably take a Moonblast from Finny fairly well. However, Nick does have to be weary of the Z Nature's power.
Yeah, Z Nature's power is a big threat, and it should be able to take out both of Nick's Pokemon right now. And so he definitely needs to play around that and make sure it doesn't give Alex too much of an advantage right off the bat in this game.
Will Persian go for a fake out on the turn 1, and what will Salamence do? I imagine that he doesn't want to switch his Salamence because it just procced the seeds to give him a special defense boost.
Yeah, so me being in Nick's position, I would probably fake out the Coco, which is what I was going to say, because of the Z nature power being such a threat. But
we
Nick
have
disagrees.
seen this before, and we know that is a KO. Nick does decide to fake out into the Finny.
And Salamence goes for an Earthquake, which is why he didn't opt to fake out that Coco. Just knowing that it doesn't actually take out the Coco.
I'm fairly surprised. However, we do have to understand that it's not a stab Earthquake from Salamence. Salamence is a very strong Pokemon. However, Coco was able to live that Earthquake pretty well.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise to me because most Earthquakes I've seen just mean the end of any Tapu Koko.
Wow, what an incredible play by Nick. He picked up the chip damage that he needed to guarantee the KO onto the Tapu Koko with the Bullet Punch. So Z Nature's power won't even matter for the Salamence. Nick is thinking 2 steps ahead.
Actually, that's even great because he got some damage on the Feeny, guaranteed the KO on the Coco, and basically neutralized Alex's Z move in that whole play.
Yes. Wow. Impressive. He had to have known that his Persian was going down, but he wanted it to.
So, the only thing going forward is the Salamence didn't do much damage with that Earthquake, which leads me to believe it's of a bulkier nature, especially given the seed we just saw. So I'm curious how much punishment it can actually take from these dual Tapus going forward.
The Arcanine does switch in to get an Intimidate on 2 physical attacking Pokemon. This is a great switch in for Arcanine. If the Bullet Punch was aimed at the Coco slot, it will not do much damage to the Arcanine, but as always, Nick is 1 step ahead and decides to Bullet Punch into the Tapu Fini.
Also goes for the Dragon Dance with his Salamence, boosting its speed up, removing the attack drop from that Intimidate, while Feeny's going to Moonblast, and we get to see just how bulky this Salamence is, not even taking half, and getting a special attack drop, which probably isn't going to matter given that we've seen Earthquake and Dragon Dance out of it.
Now, we do have to understand that Salamence is only at neutral for his attack right now. It is fast, but Arcanine did come in with the Intimidate. I expected Salamence to be able to probably take that amount of damage from the Moonblast, especially because of the Misty Seeds. I've never seen Misty Seed Salamence before, but it's there for a reason.
We've seen Extreme Speed coming out, doing another roughly third to the Salamence, and Rock Slide missing for Nick. Can't be too happy with that. Does hit the target with the higher damage output, but losing any chance to get some more chip or even a flinch on this Tapu Fini, which can take out the Salamence after that Extreme Speed.
Yes, and the double into Salamence is enough to knock it out. Alex, that was a great play switching into Arcanine from the Coco. This will leave Nick with only 2 Pokemon, Tapu Fini and Scizor.
But we've seen that this is a deadly pairing before, so he might be able to turn it around. He didn't quite get there in Game 2 with the same kind of end, but neither of these Pokemon have taken any damage. We know Tapu Fini still has a parry to heal itself for 50%, and so I think the real problem only is the Arcanine.
Absolutely. I think that if Scizor does not opt to Bullet Punch, it's obviously going to be slower than the Arcanine. Arcanine most likely will outspeed the Tapu Fini as well, so he decides to Bullet Punch into the Arcanine, maybe hoping for a critical hit. However, I do think that a Flare Blitz is going to come into the Arcanine slot.
My expectation is actually that maybe he knows the Scald isn't enough to take out most Arcanines, and he's hoping that his Fini is faster than this Arcanine, which unfortunately isn't for him. Meaning Flare Blitz is going to take out this Scizor, and we can see the players shaking hands. Nick knows that it's going to end the game. But we did see Alex's Fini being faster, so the logic is kind of sound.
Absolutely.
Because this Arcanine isn't the fastest Pokemon on the field.
I have to say that this was a very high-level match. there were several situations where I thought Nick was ahead, Alex was ahead, Nick was ahead. However, Alex is able to finish out the round, and he takes a set off of Nick. Congratulations, Alex, and well done.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, Alex. That was an impressive finish, and looking at 6-1, you should be guaranteed a spot into the top 8.
Absolutely. Now, before I go ahead and grab the winner for a interview, I would like to talk about that match a little bit with you. And the first thing that I want to say is Nick ran Scizor. Now, even though Nick was playing Scizor at an extremely high level, Scizor is really not known in this format to be a good Pokemon. I'm quite impressed with Nick's play. How did you think his Scizor functioned, and have you ever seen anything like this before?
Yeah, as I mentioned at the start of the cast, while we were trying to figure out some issues, Scizor lost a lot of options when the transfer to Sun and Moon because of just all the tutor moves it lost. It lost its probably most powerful move option in Bug Bite and Knockoff, which are both just great options. And as a result, I think most people have discounted Scizor because on top of that, its Bullet Punch is answered by things like Tapu Lele, and they're just are already good steel types in Kartana and Celesteela. So as a result, I think a lot of people just haven't even considered Scizor as an option. That said, it hasn't been doing well at any events, and while I love Nick for bringing it out here, I'm not positive it ended up actually being the best choice for him today.
Well, it's hard to say. All I know is that Nick didn't make it easy on himself by choosing Scizor, but his play was outstanding. There's no way in the world I'd be able to play Scizor that well.
Yeah, there's no questions. He played amazingly, and he obviously won 5 other rounds, so he's doing something right.
Yes.
The team probably is good.
I wish I would have got to see the Salamence a little bit more in action. I love the Earthquake. We know it has Rock Slide, Dragon Dance. It has the Misty Seed. I wish I would have got to see a little bit more of Nick's unique team.
Yeah, that was a great team.
And real quick to talk about the winner, Alex. I think that Alex just consistently played well. And the same way that Nick was switching properly, Alex was matching him and switching at the right time.
Yeah, they definitely traded blow for blow the whole tournament. And it shows in Alex's result because there were a lot of close calls that both players made.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed the commentary. I hope that you enjoyed the battling today. I will be back with an interview, so please stay right here. But that will conclude all the battles for today. We will be back bright and early tomorrow with the top 8. But I had a great time casting with you, man. I really had a blast. I hope you guys enjoyed the show at home. We're here to help you have fun. We really are. So I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Did you enjoy yourself, man?
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better event. I've seen a lot of crazy teams. There's been a lot of cool stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And we'll be back soon with an interview with Alex.
Absolutely. See you guys soon. Welcome back, everyone. And I am sitting alongside the winner of last round, Alex. The first thing that I want to say is congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
I understand that you had a little bit of a drive to get to this tournament. How long was the drive to get here?
I live 8 hours from here, so it was kind of long. So I came in yesterday and we sat and we took an hotel. I carpool with friends, so it's nice to go on a road trip with friends.
Absolutely.
It makes the experience way better than going alone.
Well, I'm very happy that you were able to come to a regionals in Canada, the first one back in a year. And it's looking like you made the top cut.
Yeah.
So congratulations, man. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
So for anyone that's watching at home, what does it feel like to beat such a good player in Nick to make it into the top cut? How do you feel?
It's unbelievable. Actually, it's the first time I even face a well-known player in that, on a big stage like this, winning against Nick. He's a formidable player, and it was really it was really incredible.
Yeah, it was. It was incredible to watch. I honestly have to say, of every game that I had seen this tournament, that set was the best set, man.
Yeah, it was really intense.
Yeah, you were making crazy predictions and switches.
Yeah.
So, for the aspiring VGC player at home, what is your mindset? How do you make a correct prediction, especially against a world caliber player in Nick?
I mean, it's the most important is not to make blind predictions out of nowhere. You have to like think in advance and what position you're gonna be in the next turn if you make X or Y play, and that's why it's not. Sometimes it's predictable, so it comes down to a mind game.
Of course. But I like what you said. So you really thought out your plays. So even if it was a predictable play, it was a well thought out predictable play.
Even if Nick predicted it, so most of the time I wasn't in a bad position the turn after. So it's kind of...
My favorite play from that set was in Game 3, where Nick started with an Earthquake.
Yeah.
You were able to KO his Persian.
Yep.
He switches in his Scizor to potentially knock out the Coco, but you have Arcanine ready in the bench for him.
Yeah.
So Arcanine really came in. You were able to use Intimidate very well.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing that I want to say is, how did you build your team? How did you make your team?
I mean, actually, the team I use is kind of known as fake PG right now, but I've been using this exact six since end of February. I just thought that these six fit together, and actually, I wanted to try out Normarium Z Tap Coco. I thought it was a really good option since Persian was rising in popularity. Dazzling Gleam can pick up the KO, so pairing it with Feeny would give me a nice options. And P2 Gigaliths at the time, it was really good against the current meta game. And even though the team picked up in popularity, I mean, I still wanted to give it a shot because I was really comfortable with it.
Oh yes, it's important to be comfortable. And the fact that you led Coco and Finny next to each other, wanting the misty terrain.
Yeah.
You were very, very good play, my friend. I'm very happy for you. I can feel your excitement just being next to you.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, man. Well, go ahead, go hang out with your friends, man.
Yes.
Thank you for the interview. Congratulations, brother. And we'll be back with the pairings right after this. So hang tight, guys. I'm sorry, the standings.